Hey, Dixon here with another unofficial Claude Code tutorial video. This video covers MCP, or Model Context Protocol. Why do we care? Well, Claude Code already comes with a lot of built-in tools that we present to Claude, and then Claude gets to decide, which tools best fulfill the prompt that we've provided. So in this case, we have a write tool, and so if we say something like write a file containing a joke, Claude will know to select the right tool for this purpose. Now, wouldn't it be nice though if we could interface with third-party services, pull in that data, and then use it in Claude Code, and have all that treated as yet another tool call? Well, that's what MCP is for. So let's set up MCP. In my videos, I reference a public repo, Claude Code Demos, and the MCPs we'll cover today are in this example MCPs plugin. I'll cover plugins and marketplaces in a future video, but for now, we'll set up by running the installation process here. So at the top level, let's run Claude plugin marketplace add. And then let's install our specific plugin. In this case, we're installing example MCPs at Dixon CC plugin demo plugins. All right, and so we're now set up. Let's restart Claude Code. And if you do /MCP, you'll see our MCPs available. Now, there are two types of MCP servers. One is HTTP MCP, where Claude Code will just make direct HTTP requests to the server. The reason why you can see this is failed is because we haven't started this localhost server yet. The second type of MCP is standard I/O, where Claude Code will run a command to start a process and then talk to that process to see which tools are available in that MCP server and to make the actual calls. So let's start with the HTTP one first. What we'll do is we'll actually start that server. So we go into plugins, example MCPs, and then HTTP server. And then if you haven't run npm install yet, make sure to do that. And now we can start it. Server is running at localhost 9876. So if we look into this and try to reconnect to it, we're now able to do that. However, we're simulating authentication in the server. It's very similar to a third-party service where you have to log in to see your email or things like that, right? So let's do that now. What does that process look like? So in /MCP, you go into the server, go to authenticate, and then you'll authenticate with the server. In this case, I don't type in any credentials, I just approve, and then you'll be logged in, and now you can return back to Claude Code. So let's do that. And so now you should see that this MCP server is connected. But what tools are in this MCP server? Well, in this /MCP menu, you can still go in and view the tools. In this case, we have a single tool called run query. Let's learn more about it. So run query will execute a query against a simulated database and return matching rows. So apparently we can ask for a list of users. So why not do that? Let's try it out. So return a list of users from running a query. So Claude Code will see the description and tool name available to it, and then it'll be able to make this tool call. The MCP tool calls go through the same permission setup that we have for our built-in tools, so you can allow list them, etc. Let's just approve it once, and voila, now you get data coming in from any HTTP MCP server. All right, well, let's explore the in-process server and what's available. So we get greet, calculate, and get weather. Okay, let's try it out. So can you greet me with the standard IO MCP server? You know, for demo purposes, I'm being more explicit in the prompt. Usually your MCP servers will be specific enough where you don't have to do this. All right, so great. Both MCPs work. Now, what happens, for instance, if you decide to clear authentication? So let's clear the auth for the HTTP server, and then let's try this query again. This should fail because I cleared auth for testing purposes. All right, and we can see that an MCP server failed to connect. All right, as expected, the query failed. The MCP server tools are no longer available. Sorry, I had to re-record this part. So a question that naturally comes up is, what does Claude actually see with the MCP servers that are enabled, right? The way to answer this question is to look at /context, and you can see where your entire context window is going. So for Claude Sonnet, by default, it is at 200K tokens. The system prompt for Claude Code takes about 5.6K tokens. The built-in tools take about 8.6K. Now, what about MCP tools? Well, they're actually now loaded on demand through this mechanism called tool search. So you may have heard, right, that MCPs are bad because they take up a lot of tokens. Well, tool search is the solution to that problem. What Claude will do is Claude will try to search for tools that can help it, and when there's a match, that tool is then loaded on demand. So you can see, for instance, run the standard IO greet tool. If I run this tool and then I look at /context, then you'll see, okay, so that tool call went through. Let's just interrupt that because we can just look at context directly. You'll see that this tool has now been loaded in its entirety into memory. So this tool, including the description and schema, are now taking up space, though the other tools that haven't been loaded don't take up space yet. So that's how tool search works. And you can compare that, 68 MCP tools tokens after load to a situation where you disable tool search. So what does that look like? Well, if I run context now, you can see that if you load all of those MCP tools in their entirety, they take up 7K tokens. That's like, a non-trivial chunk of your context window. So tool search solves that. Now, obviously, not every setup is able to support tool search. You'll have to check with your admin or your own setup. But yeah, that's what Claude sees with MCPs. So let's cover a couple more things. One is what happens when you disable an MCP server. So when you disable it, Claude Code gets an update that that tool is no longer available. So if I try to run this tool again, it's thinking because it might be like, hey, what's going on? Didn't you just disable this tool? Sorry, I might have really confused Claude there. Yeah, the tool's currently not loaded. So you can see that this is kind of the same as clearing authentication. That tool no longer appears. And you can do /context one more time to figure that out. That tool is not present anymore. Cool. So how do you install plugins? How do you install MCP servers? Well, we have an official marketplace where you can see plugins from, MCP servers from a variety of providers. And if you don't want to browse, this JSON file, you can also look in /plugin for, the third-party provider that you want to integrate with. And yeah, that's all you need to know about MCPs. I hope to see you in the next video.